Morning world, it's the 28th of February 2019. It's about 20 past 9 in the morning UK time. This is my second video of the day. Sun sign forecast will be up within 12 hours and there's going to be some interesting stuff on my website page in the next 24 hours or so. Feedback welcome. Now, I've already done one video today on Donald Trump and Michael Cohen, but there's other stuff going on in the world as well. And this is not about Brexit. My stuff on that is yet to happen. India and Pakistan are really sort of getting irritable with each other, fighting each other. And because they're both nuclear countries with a history of warfare between them, definitely worth looking at. Both India and Pakistan were created when Britain gave them both independence. Britain was very good when it didn't lose its empire, it gave its empire back. And that way it managed to keep an influence as opposed to being seen as the oppressor. Well, as worse than, not as bad as other countries were. Nevertheless, you can't really take the horoscope for independence as the formation of a country. India declared itself a republic on the 26th of January 1950 at 10:15 in the morning in New Delhi, making India an Aquarius with Aries rising and the moon in Taurus. Now, it is worthy of note, there's a couple of things in India's chart that are really interesting. Primarily, that this year Uranus in the sky is going to pass on top of India's moon and trine its midheaven. India's coming up for massive elections and it is becoming very, very polarised. India has always had a kind of split personality in its politics, as has every country, I suppose. But bearing in mind that there's 1 billion people in India, and it's one of the most democratic countries in the world, then it is interesting from an astrological perspective as to what's going to happen to India. Uranus will be on India's moon all of this year. Uranus will also be square India's sun all of this year. Both of these are starting in April, May time, and by June they're both really involved. So this is going to be a very disruptive 12 months for India. Particularly when Mars moves into early Leo in some 6, 12, 18 weeks time from now. And then when Mars moves into early Scorpio at the end of the year, these are going to be very strong trigger points for India. And it is heading into a bumpy ride over the coming 12 months. Pakistan also declared itself a republic on the 23rd of March 1956. And the republic was announced at 7:05 in the morning in Karachi in Pakistan, making Pakistan an Aries with Aries rising, feisty, warlike, with the moon in Leo. Now, Pakistan's chart actually isn't that bad. It was allegedly elected by astrologers. Not that Pakistan, being an Islamic country, would ever admit to using astrology. But I've spoken to a number of astrologers who assure me that Pakistan's chart was elected by astrologers because there's a grand trine there between the Sun and Saturn and Uranus, which should give a lot of nice, orderly, structured, revolutionary attitudes. It didn't, but with Sun and Mercury in Pakistan's 12th house, there's always going to be a kind of enemy within. And the politicians and the army have always represented two very different sides of the Pakistani equation. And it's fairly well accepted globally that the army calls the shots in Pakistan. Over 2019, Saturn in the sky is sitting on top of Pakistan's Mars. Mars rules Aries, which is Pakistan's ascendant, so Mars is Pakistan's ruling planet. Saturn in the sky is sitting on top of Pakistan's Mars, which is in Capricorn in the 10th house. So yes, there's quite a warlike attitude there, defending its own boundaries, and not concerned around public image in the world. A real killer here is in the synastry between India and Pakistan. Bearing in mind that at the time that these two republics were formed, Pluto was known about and just being started to be put in charts. Chiron was not known about. But in the synastry between these two charts, Chiron in the sky, Chiron in Pakistan's chart is conjunct the Sun, Venus and Jupiter in India's chart. Add to this, and this is the killer one, that Pakistan's moon at 17 degrees of Leo is on top of India's Pluto at 17 degrees of Leo. Translate this a bit more into individual chart stuff. These two countries will never like each other. They will never be friends. There will always be suspicion, and it's not just about religion. And even if they get the border of Kashmir sorted, there will never be trust here. There will never be respect either. These two countries are always going to be at war. And until some type of either amalgamation of these countries or absolutely clear defined border happens, this is always going to be the case. Saturn is not only sitting on top of Pakistan's Mars, creating potentially warlike situations, it's also sitting on top of India's Mercury, which is in the same place as Pakistan's Mars, in the 10th house in Capricorn. Both of these countries have Aries rising, and India's Mercury rules its 3rd house of brothers and sisters and neighbours. I can't help but feel that the relationship between these two countries is going to get worse in the short term. And until Saturn stands still and starts going retrograde towards the end of April, I expect situations to exacerbate and increase. The big question, however, is how bad will it get? Will it go to some type of nuclear option? We can only hope. Nuclear weapons have not been used in a warlike situation since 1945. And we hope that they'll never ever be used again. And the deterrent of having nuclear weapons is normally enough to guarantee that serious warfare doesn't break out. But with two countries, both with Aries rising, both with strong nationalistic views, and neither willing to break down, neither willing to back down, then it does seem in the short term as if things are going to get worse before they get better. I suspect that internal affairs in India will turn it more insular as we get into May, June, July. And I suspect that this current situation will be seen long term as a storm in a teacup come May, June, July onwards. But in the short term, yes, I'm concerned. And because Pakistan's moon is exactly on top of India's Pluto, this does worry me with the nuclear potential. So I hope that the other countries in the world are keeping an eye on this and doing their best to diffuse the situation. This is not just a short-term localised affair. This is something that could actually get quite serious. If it is going to get serious, it's going to happen before the end of April. 2019 is turning into a pretty crazy year, isn't it? Okay, that's it for today. Check my website later today or in the next 24 hours. Sun signs are up later today. Do your best to have a great day. Moon's in Capricorn all day. Should be an industrious day. Take care, world. Bye.